Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Social Liability Podcast, the only podcast where two middle aged men sit around and complain about the people that violate the social contract that we all agree to live by. I am your host, the Razgrease, with my co host, the Buck Grundle, giving you all the information you need to know about those scumbags that just inhabit our world. How you been,
And
Buck?
boy, oh boy. Man, I've been finer than frog hair, split 5 ways.
Frogs have hair?
Dude, it's very fine.
So, what have you done this week, man? You got anything good?
You know, not like juicy good, but I mean, like I had a good day yesterday. I went and go visited my sister and her fiance. Uh, they were at my parents' house. We went and had breaded steak. It was a. I know. Yeah, I see your face, man. I see your
What?
face. But
What the
I'm
hell is a
telling you,
breaded steak?
my mom takes like a beef roast, makes really thin slices out of it, and then dips them in olive oil, and then puts them in like some signature breading that she invented back like in the '60s or some shit like that. Like, yeah, it's like an old ancient Chinese recipe is what goes into this breading, and she does that on both sides and broils it for about 4 minutes. And man, I mean,
Okay,
like, I'm
well,
telling you,
what I need you to do is make sure that my wife does not listen to this episode because that sounds horrifying. That sounds positively horrifying to me and my no gallbladder self. Um, and I don't want her trying to recreate it.
telling you what, right now, it's what they served at Mount Olympus.
I doubt that highly.
uh, you only doubt that because you don't know.
Right on. Well, I got a check in the mail, so that's something, I guess. Apparently, I was prepaying my school taxes in Pennsylvania, and when my house sold, they just random check appears in the mail. So what else is there to do besides go have sushi?
I can't argue with that, man. I mean, like getting a $1,600 check in the mail, that's like a high five and sushi at least.
Well, it'll pay some bills if nothing else. But it was kind of so okay. So we've been doing hitting the sushi joint about once a week since this whole thing started, and because they're doing an awesome freaking job of it. I haven't been stepped inside of a store since March, and here we are in October. The the sushi joint, you go in, they have like that little sally port that most restaurants have like that. But when you go in, they've got a table in the door, cellophane and cardboard, all up and down it, taped up, and they got a box like a little wicket they can pass stuff through. They put it in there, close that side, you open the other side and pull it out. They got the credit card machine on the outside with the reader on the inside so they can see everything. It's great the way they're doing it. It's like 100% the way restaurants should be doing this. And it's typically you call your order in, and you go inside, run your credit card, they plop the food out through the hole, and you're off. Oh my god! When I got there yesterday, dude, it was ridiculous. There was people lined up, and half of them were doing the 6 feet, wearing a mask, doing everything that our ordinances in this town say you have to do anyway. But then the other half are sitting there just going off about, you don't need to be wearing a mask. It's my rights, my rights, my rights. It's like, dude, just shut up. I want my sushi and go home. I'm not here to listen to you go on and on about whatever. I don't care what your reviews are on it. Mine are different than most people on either side of it. But when you go out in public, I'm not coming out there to listen to you pontificate on what you feel the rights of the average citizen are when it comes to a pandemic, or what you believe that people that aren't wearing masks should be doing. I don't want to hear either side of your damn argument. Shut the hell up. I want my goddamn food and I want to go home.
Right. You know what those guys remind me of? The ones and women too. The people who sit there and rant about I don't need no mask and blah blah blah. It's my rights. Yeah, those people. they should be standing next to the guys on the road who have the signs that say like the end is near, and they're like, the Bible says, the ones who are like on street corners in big cities. Those the mask ranters can post up next to those people. We don't need them in lines at sushi places.
It was ridiculous because we in this town, not this county, but in this town in particular, we have a mask ordinance that if you're any business can be fined for not enforcing a mask ordinance, mask rules, and it's $100 fine. It's nominal, and I don't think we've actually fined anybody. We just have the police go out and say, "Listen, you need to do this." But it's on the books in case we have to, and every single religious zealot, nobody with any information that contradicts the wearing a mask might actually be harmful, showed up. But every single preacher in town and every zealot showed up, Bible in hand, to get up in front of the town council and decry the evils and how we're draconian and we are mostly, I think we were compared to the devil himself because we have the highest numbers anywhere in the state. We are the highest state right now as it pertains to rising numbers. And our county in particular is the epicenter of that. Not Tulsa, not Oklahoma City, our little shit-for-nothing town. We actually have, our numbers are going up faster than anywhere else. But yet we're the devil. It's like, first off, I didn't have anything to do with it. I didn't even know it was coming up for a vote. Furthermore, get a life. These are the same people that came in to protest that our economic and tourism folks were able to bring in what's called a paranormal circus. It's Cirque du Soleil. It's Cirque du Soleil with a horror theme. We've all seen Cirque du Soleil shows. They're phenomenal.
Right.
But this has like a horror theme to it. Like at the beginning, it's a big black and black and red tent. They have zombies around. They play that purge horn right before the show starts. I mean, it's a horror show. And the kids aren't allowed there or anything. But again, the preachers have come out. We don't want this in our town. Can't have this here. It's the devil.
So, like, you're basically in the capital of we don't take kindly to your type.
I've actually heard those words around here. I've heard those words. And I refer to this place as Cousin Fuck County, because that's what it is. And, when people actually say, when you ask them, it's like, hey, is there anywhere around here has like an Asian market or anything like that? And they just look at you like you're from freaking Mars. And you're like, okay, is there any good Mexican restaurants or anything like that? No, we don't got a whole lot of Mexicans around here. What? First off, you don't need a whole lot of Mexicans around here to have a Mexican restaurant. Secondly, there's Texas. Like, right there. That's like North Mexico. And then you say, we actually do have a very, very, high Hispanic population. But when you get told, well, they're a lot like the blacks. They know their place. Holy shit. I mean,
dude, yeah. You know what, man? That's just disgusting. I'm sorry you got to be in a place like that. I really am. People just shouldn't behave that way.
Now, see, the reason I was asking for an Asian market is because my youngest son is Chinese. Go figure. And there's a lot of foods that, when we spent our time in China, ooh, these are great. I want more of these. So we go to the Asian supermarkets, and we're the only white guy and woman walking around in an Asian supermarket, but no one ever bats an eyelash at us. They just, whatever, it's the big white people. But, we get our shit, and it's funny because we're not there just get the candy like most people are. We're actually there buying groceries, and people kind of, they see that, and you kind of know that they get it. So when we first moved down here, my oldest son started getting upset with this other kid in school. Now, my oldest son is, he's Irish as hell. He white. But he was getting picked on because he has an Asian brother. And I said, well, what's the name of this kid that's picking on him? Aryan. What? Aryan. His name is fucking Aryan. I mean, that's the kind of miserable shitbags we're dealing with right here. You're so fucking racist, you're going to name your kid Aryan. Yeah, I'm just kind of angry. This is supposed to be a fun show, and here I am just spitting vitriol because I'm angry.
You know what, though? I bet you that dickweed who named his kid that, I'm just hoping it's like not really an asshole, that it's just some dumbass who's mispronouncing a name. They were like, oh, I think this is from Game of Thrones, and I think it's pretty. It's like, yeah, Aryan, that's Tyrion's brother. No. Like, I hope that's what happened there.
No,
I doubt it.
What I hope happens is for some reason he finds himself in lockup and he's taking big hot black dick in the mouth. But that's me.
In the mouth.
In the mouth.
You're a lot nicer than me.
Well,
speaking of creative, things that happen in prison, I'm sure we got something. I'm sure we got something we can bring to the masses. What do you got there, Raz?
Nice segue, Bucky. Nice segue. I think that's your first segue, actually. But while we're at it, Oklahoma County jailers allegedly torture inmates with Baby Shark song.
This is so great. This is something that Raz and I might have done.
Might have nothing. Oklahoma City. Children's song Baby Shark is the center of new abuse allegations against 2 Oklahoma County jailers and their supervisor. On Monday, former detention officers Christian Miles and Gregory Butler and their supervisor Christopher Hendershot were charged with 4 counts of cruelty to prisoners, 4 counts of corporal punishment to an inmate, and 4 counts of conspiracy. Adding to additional court documents, the incident happened in November and December of 2019. Miles and Butler allegedly pulled the first 5 minutes of... pulled at least 5 inmates, one at a time, out of their cells at night, and then handcuffed them with their arms behind their back in a standing position in an attorney booth. In some cases, the inmates were made to listen to Baby Shark for 1.5 to 2 hours at a time.
No, I wouldn't have taken it that far.
No.
Individually, like, I can see why there's charges there.
Well, the whole handcuffing and put them in the booth and making them stand there, yes, that is beyond fucked up. You don't do that. But if they were, when I try not to read the stories before we get into them, because I actually want to be able to give the take as I get it as we read it, because it's actually funnier that way as opposed to me reading it and trying to come up with stuff ahead of time. But if it was just they were playing Baby Shark in the block at night, I'd be like, yeah, that's funny.
Yeah, I mean, like, I'd laugh at that. Or if, like, yeah. But see, we weren't even allowed to have shit like that in the prison that we worked for.
Yeah.
Like, logistically, that would have been a nightmare to even accomplish something like that. I would have just ended up going up and down the cell block on third shift singing it.
Baby Shark, do-do-do-do. Nothing short of draconian, he said. This is done with one purpose, and that is to harass, to annoy, and to torture, and to inflict emotional anguish. Well, that's not one purpose. That's several, dude. I mean, get your English right. This was their attorney comparing the conditions to Guantanamo Bay.
English nothing, man. Dude apparently can't count.
Yeah. Court documents state Miles and Butler used the booth to discipline inmates and to teach them a lesson because they felt that disciplinary action within the detention center was not working in correcting the behavior of the inmates. Yeah. The documents also stated Miles told the investigators that inmates often pissed off Butler, which evidence suggested led to those inmates being taken out of their cells and mistreated. At time when inmates weren't as many folks around, these officers got their opportunity to get their revenge, and the revenge is criminal, Davis said. Well, yeah, no shit.
Oh, yeah.
Well, here's the thing. I don't even know which one of our illustrious administrators said it, but, the punishment is not... We're not there to inflict the punishment. Their punishment is them being there. That's what prison
Care,
is.
custody, and control. That's your job if you work there. Care, custody, control.
Now,
that's as far as it goes. You don't have to punish. You're not an officer of the court. You're not a servant of the court. You've got nothing to do with the court. Why are you punishing people? That's not your place. Care, custody, and control.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. Now, that being said, we did do some fucked up shit, but nothing that was ever, crossed
It
that
was never.
line. Nothing,
No, we
nothing
were
ever
never.
crossed the line.
We were never sinister.
No. Like,
Except for the one time I hid in the dryer down in work release.
You got in a dryer?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was Halloween. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
See, I remember.
There were.
Go ahead. Go ahead. I want to hear this.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
I got like 3 or 4 inmates with that.
Go on.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they pop it. They open the dryer to put their clothes in there, and then there's CO Lynch just like jump out of the shower. I thought I was gonna give one dude a heart attack.
See,
great.
There was one time I put you in a plumbing chase, and you started making ghost noises in Spanish, and so that the Hispanic inmates that we had that were high off their ass.
Hey, yeah, but we did do that, but there was a reason. We didn't just arbitrarily get a dick hair up our nose. We're like, yeah, no, these 2 dudes, they deserved it. Like, they were misbehaving. I think one of them even defecated on themselves. I mean, they got us and they earned it. Is basically what it equated to. And they got it done in perfect freaking simulcast. Raz and I were on fleek that night. It was like a tactical strike. The only thing missing was Chuck Norris, belaying down into the rec yard and blowing something up.
Well, it was great because I was on the other side of the housing units. We'd be looking out the window and when I'm on the other side of the housing unit, their water would turn on because dickhead here was in the plumbing chase turning their water on and off and making noises. And then I just kept saying, Chupacabra, and then,
oh, yeah.
And then they went to medical in the morning. And, of course, somebody decided to go up on the roof and start stomping on the ceiling of medical. So these guys stoned out of their ass are convinced the Chupacabra is trying to come and get them. But I could
going to medical in the morning happened at 4:30 in the morning. We're not talking 9 a.m. It's still the dark. It's always darkest before dawn.
Well, we did. If Baby Shark would have been a thing, I can definitely see walking the tier at night shift singing Baby Shark. Just to be a dick because.
But not excessively.
No,
I wouldn't handcuff people. They're already a captive audience. Seriously, don't pour salt on the wound.
Yeah, I think the most. There's 2 things I consider to be the most dickheaded things I've ever done in jail. One of them had an inmate screaming up and down that he just hated the fucking world, and I was there, and he kept saying, "There's no difference between you and me. There's no difference between you and me." And I said, actually, there is. And there was an empty cell right next to him. I opened it up, hold the door open. I said, I can do this. I'm in the cell. I'm out of the cell. I'm in the cell.
Yeah. Some people you just... Yeah, there's a rule book, but it doesn't cover that. You have to make it up on the fly. There's nothing in the rules about that. What am I supposed to do here? You ask a shift commander, they're like, use your discretion. You're like, famous last words.
You done fucked up, LT.
It's like, I thought you weren't supposed to give us guns because you just loaded oh, boy.
You remember Seth, right? CO
Yes.
Seth? I don't use last names. He started same time I did. And you started 6 months before I did. And we weren't there very long. And there was an inmate who was there on a freaking murder charge. But him and Seth and I searched his cell and we found some razor blades. And, Seth was going to write him up, so he did. Well, the inmate filed a grievance. And the first step to that is you take a request slip and you write on there, a request for grievance, and you ask the CO for relief. And the CO is always going to tell you no. And then it goes to a formal, and nothing ever going to come of it because we were allowed to search his damn cell. He's mad because his razor blades got found. He thought he should be there. Anyway, so I walked by the office that we do guard mount in, which is like the meeting before your shift, and he's sitting there like just perplexed, looking at this request slip. I'm like, Seth, what the hell's wrong? He's like, I got a grievance. I go, okay, so what? He's like, I've never got one before. Okay.
Raz pulls out like a 3-ring binder. He's like, look at these.
And he's like, what should I do? I go, let me read it. And I read it, and then, I wasn't present when my cell was searched. Well, you don't have to be. So I said, fuck it, dude. Tell him he's beat. And which is prison slang for fuck you.
You're beat, have a nice day.
That dumb motherfucker writes on the bottom of that slip, you're beat, have a nice day. And I get
Like, no.
Muzzy, our one lieutenant, called me into the office and said, I had to give this guy a grievance. Did you tell him to write this? And I go, tell him to write what? And he hands it to me. I bust up laughing. I said, yeah, I told him to tell him he's fucking beat, but I didn't say to write it down.
Oh, man.
This is the same guy who disappeared on shift one time, and we could not find him. He would not answer his fucking radio, and we are searching the prison looking for this guy. And I come through the door of the kitchen just to find him happy as hell frying up eggs with an inmate. And I'm telling him, get your shit, get the fuck out of here. Reyes, Lieutenant Rainer, comes through the fucking door.
Man.
And what's the first thing because she freezes like, what the hell? First thing he looks at her, hey, Lieutenant, want some eggs?
Didn't she eat some eggs, though?
No!
Like, I was just making sure.
No.
Because I can't remember, like, you were in the corridor that night. I was somewhere in the housing unit, so I wasn't like a witness to this. But I can only imagine, like, her plausibly doing that.
Well,
like,
she was knucking futz, but still. But yeah, no, that happened. But we did things, but we didn't cross the line, and the inmates loved you, you damn hugger.
You know what?
You can't deny it.
Like I said, no, and I won't deny it. I won't deny it. I had a great relationship with the inmate population. You want to know why? Because it behooved me. Okay, it made my day easy. I didn't give them stuff. I didn't break. Well, I was very liberal with the rules, but I didn't outwardly break them. I never brought anybody contraband.
You you and I had two very, very different approaches to dealing with things. Now, I wasn't like the hard ass that I make myself out to be in hindsight, but like when I would go on shift at night, when I was working night shift, because that didn't last very long, and you would have the inmates just off the fucking chain because the second shift COs were worthless, and you'd come on there and they'd just be just bouncing off the goddamn walls, and as soon as I'd walk in the door, you'd hear them go, fuck, and I'm like, yeah. So I'd let the second CO leave, and then I would just make the announcement in the block, guys, in 15 minutes I just want everybody chilled the hell out. Now, they should have been done over an hour ago before I got there. They should have been lights out and everything. It's 11 o'clock at night now. But I'm not going to... You can't just walk in there and expect them to instantly go to sleep. It ain't going to happen. So I told them, 15 minutes, wind it down. And I just ignored them for 15 minutes, let them do what the hell they wanted to. Because it behooved me. But if you listen to anybody there, I came in there with a stick and started beating people because, it's past 11 o'clock. That's not what happens. But I also had a reputation for, in being the guy that was by the book, but I never changed. They knew what to expect from me, so I never really had major problems.
No, the inmates didn't like you right when you got on shift. After you were on shift for the first hour, they were like, they just accepted the reality of it, and things were like, all right, back to homeostasis. I used to actually use you as a gambling chip. I'm like, you know what, guys? Officers out in the corridor tonight. If I can't get you guys to quiet down, I guess I'm just going to have to call him in here and give me a hand. And they're like, well, and I'm like, I just don't see any other way, guys. I'm just get. Could you please call 2B?
Things happen. So,
Uh,
so no, you're not there to torture the inmates, and we're not going to say we did. So, let's move on to a different subject then.
I'm sorry. We just loved prison.
We did.
That's it.
We did. Okay, so moving on. Our next story is titled Austin Public Library Employee Accused of Stealing and Selling Over $1.3 million in Printer Toner. I mean, toner's not cheap. But, I mean, how much do you really have to steal for $1.3 million worth?
I mean, like, this dude is like a marathon criminal. I can only imagine that this was done over like the span of time, a span of time.
Take a guess. Take a guess on how long.
I'm gonna say 9 years.
A former Austin Public Library employee has been arrested, accused of theft of at least $1.3 million in toner over a 12-year period. According to an investigative report by the Office of the City Auditor, Kyle, that's the name of the town. Kyle resident Randall Whited? I mean, okay. Fraudulently bought and stole the printer toner, then sold it online. Additionally, the report claims Whited used an APL credit card to buy electronics and home goods for personal use. The report says libraries' poor practices and procedures provided an opportunity for Whited to steal from the city during his tenure. He was allowed to approve his own purchases, the report says, and he had insufficient oversight from his supervisors. Whited allegedly purchased at least $1.5 million worth of toner from October 2007 through July 2019 from the library based on available printer usage. The auditor's office estimated the library would need about $150,000 worth of toner for that time frame. Holy crap. And I love there's actually a surveillance photo of this guy in an elevator with like toner stacked up to his chin.
Man, this dude didn't give a shit about the logistics. He was just like, doo-doo-doo-doo-doo.
The report said investigators found spreadsheets detailing who he sold the toner to and security footage of Whited leaving the library with boxes of toner. It was believed that Whited was taking the toner to other APL branches, but the library said they had other staff members responsible for doing that. He's just helping out. When investigators spoke to employees at other APL branches, they said they hadn't received new shipments of the toner for several months and had very little on hand. The report also just detailed other alleged misuses of credit cards by Whited. He reportedly used city credit cards to buy at least $18,000 worth of items that appeared to be for personal use, and $15,000 of it were consumer electronics like video games, virtual reality headsets, and robotic vacuums, and a drone. How do you not have a system in place that vets purchase orders? Or even just goes over credit card statements?
It's like the blind leading the blind. Like I don't know who's worse. The guy, like, this guy just, the reason he didn't cover his tracks is because he's like, there's no fucking point. like, that is so much extra work. There's nobody looking.
And
he's
after,
like,
I mean,
he's
maybe
on camera.
At the 10-year point, he's like, you know what? No one's caught me yet. They're not gonna.
He's like, I've been robbing from this place for 10 years. I'm gonna buy myself a Rolex. Like,
I've been robbing this place for 10 years. I need a fucking Roomba.
And everybody's just looking at this dude for all this time, just thinking, yep. Quitting time comes, and this dude just slides down his dinosaur like Fred Flintstone and hits the street. No, sir. No, sir. He is down in the docks getting that printer toner. And don't let anybody fool you, because that's what that story is. Like, and nobody knew. Nobody knew. Like, don't you have to have college degrees to get certain jobs within a city?
Uh,
Like, what isn't there like an expectation of like some sort of knowledge base
t- uh,
if
uh,
you're gonna be like working up there?
so if when you go to the library, there's people that call themselves librarians, and they're typically not. In order to be a librarian, you have to have a master's degree in library sciences. That's how you become a professional librarian. Is you have to have a master's. If you're a library worker, they may call you a librarian, but you're not. But typically, the people running the place have at least master's degrees or doctorates, for Christ's sakes. And nobody noticed that 1.5 million freaking dollars was missing? And that this guy working at a public library is like rolling around with Roombas and drones and VR headsets and everything else.
Right. I mean, like, how did I just like, yeah, what the guy did was wrong, but I mean, like, seriously, it's like leaving a Halloween candy bucket out for trick or treaters with like the take one sign. It's like, take one. I don't think there's anybody that has ever followed that direct. I'm a nice guy, and I even take 2 or 3 pieces. But I'm like pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. I don't
But
dump the whole bowl in there. But
in this particular scenario, it's like
yeah,
it's like the house that gives out the full size candy bars doing it.
right. But he's robbing from their candy bowl. Yeah. Shit.
The report says between February 2017 and July 2019, Whited used city credit cards to buy more than $140,000 of items. Investigators said that due to poor inventory practices and inadequate purchasing records by APL, they couldn't come to an exact amount. Get the credit card statements. Oh my God. When asked to provide a response to the report, Whited did not. The report says the Office of the City Auditor referred the issues to the Austin Police Department due to the potential criminal activity of Whited's actions. Well, no shit, Kung Fu.
Wait, we're talking about like Austin, frickin' Texas.
Apparently. White was booked into the Hayes County Jail on theft charges on September 22nd, according to court records. He has had 5 previous arrests from 1980s and 90s, all for theft and burglary. The dude's got freaking Grievous falsy charges, and they gave him a city credit card.
Wow.
Bill Hines, attorney for Whited, told KXAN Monday, "We are investigating the allegations and evaluating all options under these difficult circumstances." Sounds like the police department's doing a bang-up job, too. On Monday, APL Director Roosevelt said that the library appreciates and accepts the findings of the investigation, and that it will use the data to make changes. Weeks said in a statement, in part, "We take fraud, waste, and abuse seriously. Apparently not. It took you 12 fucking years to find it. And while participating in the investigation, we began taking immediate steps to address systemic deficiencies." All right, now we're going to start using buzzwords. Okay. We have updated our purchasing operations and strengthened internal controls to eliminate opportunities for fraud and waste. In other words, your ass is getting ready to be fired too because you didn't notice it.
Yeah. That is just like a systemic fuckaloo is what that is. I mean, like, seriously.
APL says changes made in response to this incident include a reduction in the number of employees who have access to City of Austin credit cards, elimination of store-specific credit cards for office supplies, limiting the use of third-party payment platforms, and increased monitoring. I think that one pretty much handled it right there. We continue to say, I believe these changes will prevent individuals with ill intent from being able to take advantage of the internal control systems in the future. You didn't have any. Don't say that they're taking advantage of something you didn't have.
Wait. And the comment was, I believe this will help?
I believe.
Man, dude, hope is not a strategy. Like, you need to do some... There's some action and elbow grease required for this.
Oh, it gets better. KXAN found an extensive criminal history for Whited dating back to the 1980s and 90s. He was arrested and convicted for several charges of theft and burglary of a building. Yet, city records obtained by KXAN investigators show Whited passed a criminal history background check. Sure he did. You didn't do one. He is listed in those records as having financial responsibility, credentials allowing him to use those credit cards. A city spokesman said employees must not only pass an initial background check, but also checks every 2 years to maintain the status. They noted other background check requirements exist for employees to be classified as working with vulnerable populations. They weren't doing them, okay?
Obviously. Somebody screwed the pooch there.
The spokesperson said criminal background checks consider convictions in the past 10 years, which is why Whitehead's past convictions weren't considered. They explained no convictions were shown throughout Whitehead's 5 background checks during his tenure of the city. Bullshit. And if it was only limited to 10, it's because you only wanted it limited to 10. Okay? I mean, I can do a background check on anybody right here, right now, and I can get you their entire criminal history. Probably even some friends that have similar names. The Fair Chance Hiring Ordinance aims to reduce recidivism and unemployment for people with criminal convictions and allow qualified job applicants with criminal histories a chance of employment. So yeah, they intentionally restricted it to 10 years. So that's on them. Taxpayers respond. It's sad, and I don't know how it went uncovered or undetected. That's the kind of thing that should be checks and balances to protect, and it's unfortunate. The fact that we pay so much in property tax, it's even more sort of insulting, you know? What's insulting is we're going to do this feel-good shit where we're not going to... Okay, you want to you only took the background check so far, that's fine. But put an exception in there for charges of falsehood, falses of theft, fraud, and lying. If it's we're only going to count, we're not going to count the shoplifting, or we're not going to count the
felony DUI.
Something. People do better themselves. But when it's fraud, burglary, stuff of that nature, we're going to say, here's a credit card. Have fun.
Yeah. I mean,
it's like taking somebody who's a pedophile and letting them work at a daycare.
It really is. Yeah.
Well, it's been 10 years. He hasn't raped in 10 years.
We're going to be opening a brand new bank here, and I think D.B. Cooper would be a great CEO. Anybody, Yeah.
We'll just keep the parachutes away from him.
I mean, they say he took the money, but I mean, nobody's found it.
Or and him.
Wow. But yeah.
Oh, jeez. So we. All right, let's go across the pond. Let's get away from Texas. Let's go across the pond. Guardia. Oh, this has come from the Independent, by the way. Guardia have arrested a 71-year-old bed and breakfast owner suspected of ferrying a gang of younger criminals across the country to carry out aggravated burglary. The female pensioner was arrested this week with her younger associates as part of an investigation into daylight break-in at a home in somewhere. Mullingar? Westermouth? I can't. The British town names just get me every time. Anyway, moving on. Last month's burglary happened about 2 p.m. on Sunday, September 19th, when a number of people broke into a private home in the Ballina area. The raiders then searched the property and stole a number of personal items before taking the keys to the homeowner's car and driving off. On Thursday, detectives carried out several warrants in the Midlands after identifying a number of suspects. It's understood Guardia also seized items linked to the investigation that will now be examined. The Irish Independent also learned that one of those who is in Guardia custody was a 71-year-old woman who owns a bed and breakfast in the Midlands town. Detectives suspect the pensioner was involved in driving 2 younger associates to and from the scene of last month's aggravated burglary. They are now investigating where she played a similar role in previous crimes carried out by the pair. It goes on, but hey, Granny, I need a ride. Can you hook me and my friend up? We need to go freaking rob the Smiths.
On your way to the store to go get cigarettes, you think you could take us somewhere? Just real quick.
Yeah, just,
Be in and out. Be in and out.
I mean, I'd like to think maybe she was tricked into doing it, but reality is she probably knew exactly full well what was going on, especially when she had to drive them back and forth, you know?
I mean, like, if she fell for something and was duped into it, like that must have been a really elaborate scheme to get, like, yeah, we have to wear these masks for COVID, but they cover your whole.
That's a ski mask.
That's a balaclava. But you know it might get on our face skin. It's like no.
There's not a whole lot to say about it. I mean, if she was tricked into doing it, I feel horrible that someone would do that. And I'm sure that she would be embarrassed, but I have a hard time believing somebody could be that gullible, especially with somebody that much experience in life.
Yeah, I mean, like, she's a business owner.
Yeah, so she's not stupid.
I know she got to have some savvy. I mean, like, come on.
But how does she fund that business? Apparently.
Exactly. It's like, well, you know, COVID hit, the business isn't doing that well. All I got to do is drive these guys. Yeah, fuck it.
Get in the car, kids. We're gonna go rob the Smiths.
I want to hold my own gun, though. So it's like,
all right. Let's come back from the UK and head to the great state of Florida. Let's hit the music first, though.
Florida man, does whatever the fuck he can. Makes headlines every time. Florida's paradigm. Look out! Here comes Florida man.
Well, again, it's not Florida man so much as Florida woman. Excuse me. Florida woman gets lottery prize initially denied due to mail mix-up. Okay. A Florida woman who was initially denied a $1,000 lottery prize when her ticket was believed to have been lost in the mail was finally awarded her winnings by lottery officials. Sue Burgess of Ridge Manor, Hernando County, won a second chance drawing that was initially a losing ticket July 29th. And due to COVID-19, the restrictions she had instructed her to mail the ticket to the Florida Lottery headquarters. Burgess sent the ticket via certified mail that she could track its trip to Tallahassee. But the tracking system said the ticket was in transit, and it remained that way for weeks. I was horrified to find out that the Lottery Commission had never received my ticket, Burgess told the New York Post. After I had to pick myself up off the floor, I learned the ticket was still in transit. After I picked myself up off the floor, I was flabbergasted. I was appalled. I mean, if someone's going to... I understand being upset, and I understand the caliber of people that typically play the lottery. But if you're being interviewed by the New York Post, for example, or any newspaper, would you really want to say, after I picked myself up off the floor...
Ain't nobody got time for that.
There I was, minding my own business. With my binoculars. Lottery officials told her the prize was being forfeited and given to a second place winner because the ticket did not arrive at their office with a postmark provided it was mailed within 7 days of her being notified that she had won. Burgess turned to WFLA-TV for help, and the lottery officials conducted an additional investigation and discovered the ticket was indeed in their possession. A lottery official told the TV station that they did not know why the ticket's postal tracking information was incorrect or why it took so long to find the ticket. Maybe because some shenanigans were afoot. Burgess said a FedEx delivery arrived at her home this week with the check for $1,000.
What a happy ending.
It is. She got her money, but she actually had to jump through hurdles to do it. I mean, because I've read, there's actually multiple articles on this story for some reason. But typically you have to appear in person and show ID and say, here's my ticket, and then boom, they give you your check after you filled all the tax documents. In this scenario, since their office is closed, they said, well, you have to mail it to us. And she said, I'm not just going to drop this in the mail. So she did a certified letter. Well, there was nobody there to sign for the damn thing.
Right.
I would have done the same thing. Don't say I'm calling her out on anything. I think she did everything above board. I think she just doesn't know how to do an interview for a newspaper. But yeah, this story is kind of downplaying it. We're like, oh, we don't know what happened. You know exactly what happened. Douche canoes?
I don't know exactly what happened. Please tell me, Raz.
There was nobody there to sign the damn thing, dude. I mean, seriously. If there's nobody there to receive a letter, or someone there...
Oh, yeah.
They were closed.
Right. Well, still. Yeah, you know what, though? There is a very flawed aspect of this plan of mail in the ticket to us.
Well,
nobody's going to be there to get the mail.
Like, okay, for example, I've need to get a new copy of one of my son's Social Security card. So I called the Social Security Administration and said, hey, how do I do this now? Because typically you just go to a Social Security office with the documents and they mail you one. I mean, you go there, you show them. They said, okay, cool, one will be in the mail. Boom, done. Well, all the Social Security Administration offices are closed. So I said, what should I do? And they said, well, you need to just mail us your driver's license. Excuse me? You just mail us your driver's license. I go, but you need your driver's license on you to drive. Well, just don't get caught.
Well, thank you, Aristotle.
Did you just tell me to break the law? Oh, my Lord. But people have got these stupid ideas in their head. Yes, we need to come up with some solutions for offices being closed, but the U.S. Postal Service has proven itself to be a very unreliable entity, and I don't trust it with a cheese sandwich, let alone a $1,000 lottery ticket.
Yeah, yeah. They haven't been doing themselves very many favors. I mean,
I know it's become a political issue on, whether the post office should exist and everything like that. And as much as they've screwed me over the years,
they're not doing themselves any favors.
They're not at all.
It's like the dude who's got tenure. It's like, oh, we can't get rid of him. He's got tenure. It's like, you don't have tenure, post office. You have to actually function to be around.
It's a pseudo-private entity owned by the government. It's weird. But we could have an whole episode on the post office. Maybe we should. Let's do an episode on the post office one of these days real soon. But that being said, folks, I think that is all we have for this week's episode of the Social Liability Podcast. Be sure to check us out on most social media platforms as well as... Well, that's not actually true. We're on Facebook. We're on Facebook and YouTube. But you can check us out on most podcasting platforms. And the only thing that you have to do for this podcast is pay attention. Because we don't charge you a damn thing. There's not even any ads in here. I mean, Christ, what do you want from us?
I mean, we're already serving up all this entertainment with a slice of ambiance. Just pay us a little attention.
And tell a friend. If you have a friend that owns a dog, people that own dogs love this show, I'm told. So go ahead and make sure you pass that along. Let's do that. We'll pick a new subgroup to send it to every week. That way we're not inundating all your friends at once. That way you can continue to share the pleasure that is the Social Liability Podcast with a new subsection of friends each and every week.
Yeah, this week your challenge is share this podcast with a friend who owns a dog.
There you go. That being said, folks, we will see you next week on the Social Liability Podcast. Have a week.